I've described how to handle exceptions that are thrown by the Java runtime and its core libraries, but you can also generate your own exceptions and give them custom error messages. I'm working in a project named Throw, and I'm starting with code similar to what I had in the last one. I've declared an array of characters, and then within a try block, I try to get a value from the characters array. If I survive that, I then try to get a value from a substring. In either case, I could throw an error, and I have two catch blocks to handle the different errors, one for an array index out of bounds exception and one for a string index out of bounds exception. If you want to throw your own exceptions, you can either use the core exception class or create your own custom exception classes. I'm going to stick to the core exception class here, and I'm going to add some code within the try block. I'll add a bit of conditional code. I'll start with the keyword if, and then I'll set my condition to cars.length less than 10. Now this is an arbitrary condition. It doesn't make any real sense for the application I'm working on, but my goal here is to show you how you can generate and throw your own exception. To throw an exception, call the throw method. Then in a pair of parentheses, pass in an exception object. I'm going to instantiate an exception object with the keyword new and the exception class's constructor method. Notice that the constructor can take a string as a message. I'll pass in a literal string of my custom message. Now, when the code encounters the throw statement, the path of execution will shift to the catch blocks, and Java will look for a catch block that catches this exception. If it doesn't find one, then the exception will be fatal. But notice that I have an error indicator. That's because when you explicitly throw an exception, you have to handle it one way or another. I'll click on the link to see my choices, and I see that IntelliJ IDEA is offering to add a catch clause. I'll choose that, and a new catch block is added at the end. And this is for the exception class. I'll replace the automatically generated code that calls print stack trace, and instead I'll output my custom message using e.getMessage. And now I'll run the code again, and I see my custom message. So I never got to this bit of code that's trying to use the array, or this bit of code that's trying to use the string. When I executed the throw statement, that threw me into the catch blocks, and finally, the code went to this catch block that handled that particular exception object. So this is how you can structure your error handling to handle different kinds of exceptions. As you explore the Java class library's API documents, you'll find that certain methods tell you this method can throw this kind of exception, and it's up to you to add the code to your application to handle those exceptions elegantly.